Okay, good Shav, good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Hope you're doing well and getting ready for a great Shabbos ahead, let's hope. As we lead up to Shavuos, even more soon than that, Yom Yerushalayim, lots of great things to come. Yesterday I cheated and I did a Rashi from the fourth Aliyah, even though it was Thursday, so I'm going to cheat again. And I'll do a Rashi today from the fifth Aliyah, even though it is Friday. This is the fifth Aliyah of the combined Parshios, Behar, Bechuk. It's an interesting Rashi, and I think it'll dovetail well with the other Rashi that we saw. I'm going to bring it up. Of course, the beginning of Bechuk tells us all the wonderful blessings that are going to come if we keep the laws of the Torah, and then it transitions to tell us what happens if we don't keep the laws of the Torah. So in the first pasuk, im bechukosai telechu, that's the condition. If you do follow it, we had to figure out the redundancy of bechukosai telechu after we also saw mitzvosai tishmeru asisemosam. If we're already commanded to follow the mitzvos and to do them, so what's bechukosai telechu? So we learned yesterday that this was the Torah telling us that we also have to be amelim b'Torah. We also have to be toiling and struggling and exerting effort in terms of learning Torah. That's the redundancy over here. Well, when you fast forward to our pasuk today, the opposite, ve'im. All of that is im you do, if you do right, all these blessings are going to come. Now the Torah transitions, ve'im bechukosai, ve'im lo tishmeuli. If you don't listen to me, and you don't do all of these mitzvahs. This is the opposite of the beginning of the parsha. Im bechukosai telechu is the positive. If you follow the chukos, the laws, the statutes. And here is if you reject those chukos. If you reject those statutes. Im bechukosai timasu. But just like in the first pasuk, there was a redundancy. Over here, there's a redundancy as well. First, it says, if you reject my laws, my statutes, and as mishpatai tigal nafshechem levotiasos kol mitzvosai, and if you become disgusted or my mitzvahs become so abhorrent to you that you stop doing them, right? So if we already know from the end of the pasuk, the warning about rejecting mitzvos, about stopping mitzvos, why do we have to have these opening words, im bechukosai tim asu? It's exactly the mirror image question that we asked on the first pasuk in bechukosai, im bechukosai telechu. In the positive sense, what is the Torah adding with those three words? Now, in the negative sense of not keeping the mitzvos, which we also know from the rest of the pasuk, what is the Torah adding by telling us im bechukosai tim asu? It's a fascinating Rashi. Rashi says, "Im bechukosai tim asu, moes ba'acherim ha'osim." If you reject my statutes, means if you reject other people who try to observe my statutes. It's an amazing lesson. The Torah is reinforcing here to us is that part of the klala, part of the opposite of blessing, part of the curses of this parsha of not following the mitzvahs of the Torah is not only us not personally following the mitzvahs of the Torah, but scorning or shaming or rejecting or demeaning those who do try to keep it. So oftentimes, some endeavor in life, and specifically in Torah, is not necessarily our cup of tea. It's not necessarily what we're up to. It's not necessarily what we're ready for. It's not necessarily what we're aspiring to in that given moment. But even if we're not there, it doesn't mean that we can reject others who are there. Quite the opposite. We need to elevate those others. We need to respect those others. We need to be proud of those others. We need to support those others in the great place that they are. If someone else is keeping mitzvahs and we're not, so we have one problem, which is that we're not keeping them. But we shouldn't compound the problem by lowering those other people, by rejecting those other people, by rejecting their observance of mitzvahs simply as a means of making ourselves feel better. So the Torah is pointing out that there's two layers here. There's our responsibility to our personal shmiras hamitzvos, and then there's our responsibility to being supportive of others in their shmiras hamitzvos as well, and both are equally important. And the lack of one or the other can result in the klalos, the great curses that are mentioned in this parsha. I think it's an important thing for us to remember as we go forward, just to try to forget the clothes, forget the curses over here, but just to try to support people in all of their endeavors, to support people where they're at, and specifically in the realm of Torah and mitzvahs. We all need that help. We all need that encouragement. We all need that support. And it's something we should try to provide for others at every step along the way. Wish you all a great Shabbos ahead.